Hello there, I'm Barry Robinson for Scarborough TV News. Now we're out and about today at the Scarborough Rugby Club and with Ian Harper and Alan Jones. Now, first of all, we'll come back to you in a moment, Alan. Okay. You are a very important bass player.
Really? Oh.
Ian,
yes.
What is happening here today at the Scarborough Rugby Club?
It's our 17th annual Shadows Music Gala. And it's a gala of, obviously, music of the Shadows. We have a lot of people that have come from all over the country for the weekend, and we're playing to backing tracks, we're playing live, and of course we've got our very special guest, former Shadows Bass Guitarist Mr. Alan Jones with us.
Alan, there you go. What about that? I've heard you are absolutely great. You are wonderful. You have had such a career with all the top artists in show business. Can we go back right to the beginning? We won't talk about the Shadows now. We will do in a moment. But let's go back to the very beginning when you first started being a bassist. What happened?
Okay, well, I first started off working for a group on the Mecca circuit. I don't think they're going anymore, and that was just working with a quartet. And I was there just using my ears, playing the bass guitar, because I couldn't read music. The musicians were about 10 years older than me, and they all said, oh, you must learn to read music.
So how old were you at the time?
18.
18, yeah.
A couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So the only thing I can say to you, basically, the gentleman that telling me you must learn to read music, I went to the Eric Gilder School of Music, which was in Wardour Street in London at the time, and learned to read music over the next 2 years.
So from there, your next band?
Okay, it was a band that we used to work on Easy Beat, and the band was called the Johnny Howe Band. And basically the orchestra or the band was booked to work there, so if somebody like Tom Jones came along, Gene Pitney, Dusty Springfield came along with the music, you'd sit there in the studios with the headphones on and you'd read the music and play the latest hits, which could be, it's not unusual for Tom Jones or whatever, that's it.
From there, what happened?
And that was live, that's it.
That was live, yeah. From there, what happened?
I had the great pleasure of being asked to work with George Martin for Sir Paul McCartney, and it was to do all the film music for a film called Live and Let Die that Paul wrote all the music to. And he was there in the studio with his wife at the time, Linda, and he thanked me for doing what I did for George Martin himself.
Well, of course, he was a bass guitarist as well.
He's my hero, good songwriter as well.
Yeah.
And the only thing I can say at the end of the day is that I said, oh, Paul, why didn't you do it yourself? He said, I can write things down on a pencil and a paper, like that, what I want, and then he gives it to George Martin, but he couldn't go in and sight read all the music for the film for the whole week. So that's why I was actually booked to do the film music for George and Paul, that's it, yeah.
How did you join the Shadows?
I basically did some recording work with Brian Bennett on drums, and this was in like late 76, and EMI Records basically brought out an album called The 20 Golden Greats. Now, I wasn't on any of those hits at all. Basically, what happened was EMI Records, when it got to #1, they said, to Hank, Bruce and Brian, you better go out and do a tour to promote the album. They said, we don't have a keyboard player, we don't have a bass guitar player. So Brian recommended me to have the audition, and he asked me, did I know the dance steps first? And I said, yes, that's it. So I did the audition, and Francis Monkman was the keyboard player that did the audition with me. Francis Monkman was the keyboard player that worked with John Williams' group Sky. And we both got the job, so we did a tour which was called the 20 Golden Dates.
So what was Cliff like?
Yeah, he's a gentleman. He's a very, very nice guy. Working with Cliff and the Shadows, and even in the Time musical, I worked with him for a year. And yeah, he's a gentleman,
And Hank, I understand he's a gentleman.
He is a gentleman.
From Ian, because Ian's met.
Hank is a gentleman as well. So is Bruce Walsh and Brian Bennett. All nice people. They're musicians who know the tools of the trade. They've all done their homework. They've been in the business over 50 years. And they all know exactly how to play their instruments. It's not everybody's sort of kind of music.
Oh, it's wonderful music.
I mean, but all the hits that you heard, you can't forget them because they were so melodic.
Yeah.
And Hank had that special thing with the echo box on the guitar, which was new in 1960, Nobody was using that. And people like Jeff Beck and even Mark Knopfler. And who's the other guy? There was about 3 guitar players.
Eric Clapton.
Eric Clapton was one of them as well.
He uses a Fender Strat.
Yeah, they all used the Fender Strats, and they didn't know how you got that sound. And they were all listening to get that sound, and they all grew up learning to play that music. Even Pete Townsend of The Who, there you go.
Yeah.
Worked that one out. Yeah.
Ian, just come over here. I want you in on
Yes,
this.
sir, Ian.
Now, how did you manage to find this young man? He is brilliant.
The first time I met Alan to talk to, I think, was at Warwick.
Yeah.
And I'd found out that he was born in Rotherham. Now, all our family come from Rotherham. Although I wasn't born in Rotherham, all my family go back years in history from Rotherham. And of course, that was the starting point. I said, I understand we've got something in common. What's that? I said, Rotherham, and his face lit up when I said that. And that was the start of a friendship with Alan. That's going back quite a long while. And after that, I said, will you come to Scarborough for our annual gala? And we were the first club of all the clubs around the country that did a 2-day event, wasn't it? We started that off. There'd been a club in Newcastle that had been doing the odd 1-day show, and I'd been to one of those and met Licorice Locking up there. And I asked Licorice would he come down, and he came to our first one that we did, and this is, let's say, the 17th year of it. And it's a full 2 days. Now, Alan's been to quite a lot of these, and Licorice as well, hasn't he? He came to a lot.
Yes.
We've had Jet Harris came to see us as well. He came and played. And of course, Bruce Welsh has been as well. So we've been very, very fortunate in that members of the group have actually been to Scarborough, and they've played with members of the club, and they've played in bands that we've put round them, and everybody still enjoys it, and that's the nice thing about it.
Well, the place is packed here today. All you need now is Cliff and Hank to come, and it'd be marvellous.
Well, that's right. I mean, obviously, it would be brilliant if we could get them to come, but of course, their time is so valuable. It's very hard to get hold of them, isn't it, Alan?
And they live the other side of the world.
They do.
Barbados and Perth, Australia.
Yes, that's right. No, Hanks is in Australia.
That's right, Perth, that's it, yeah.
But at least they do come over here occasionally.
That's it, yeah.
Well, what an honour, what a pleasure it has
thanks,
been
Barry.
to meet you.
Right, thank
I'm Barry
you.
Robinson talking to Alan Jones
And Ian.
And Ian Harper.
and Ian Harper here at the Scarborough Rugby Club for the Shadows Gala.